yo, Rain, turn that up. Only a few of us gon' make it out. Zion, only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only a remedy. We at the end and we feeling it. We the sand of the sea, but a remedy. Shall return to the word when they hearing it. We the sons of Israel. Our word will never fail. Baptized in the Jacob's well. Holy Spirit ain't playing for real. Will you get protected? He's sending them plagues. I'm trying to make sure that he's seeing rain. All in my life, all in my head, all in my walk, all in my legs. You don't got that blood, you walking dead. Walk as he walk, we should live what it say. Only a remedy gonna be spared. Only a remedy gonna be spared. Abba gon' get us out of these countries. Abba said, let me see who really want me. Forsaking our houses, forsaking our money. We got that signal from heaven, he coming. Drinking his cup, nobody running. Flesh getting weak, but the spirit is gunning. We see the prophecy, we know he coming. We see the prophecy, we know he coming. But it's only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. That's how my heart hurts for you. And the sun, he died for you. Yes, it's true, yes, it's true. You didn't have no clue. That's because nobody told you. They couldn't afford to. Called you monkey like you Goku. It ain't like nobody owed you. We broke the law and they sold you. We did this all to ourselves, Jacob. Now it's the time that you know the truth. You don't know you so special. You don't even see what's next, though. So we cry. Only remnants gonna make it out of here alive. Please repent my people, cause we at the end of time. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. It's time for my people return.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook Live, good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries, good morning, YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope everyone have had a great week. I hope the Most High has truly blessed you over in abundantly. I hope the Most High have really given you everything that your heart desired this week. I hope that everything has went well for you this week. I really truly hope it has been. I hope the Most High have really truly blessed your offsprings in the manner in which your heart desire, in the manner in which your heart desire for yourself. I hope that that the Most High has really truly blessed you. I really can say that, and I really want that to be. Um, I really hope the Most High really had truly blessed you, and He's giving you everything. I hope He's really truly taking the fish scales off your eyes. I hope He really has unplugged your ears, and I really truly hope that He has opened your mouth to speak the truth. My week has been a good week. I really truly can't complain. The Most High has really truly blessed me over and abundantly. So I really can't complain. One thing I have learned in life is that when you are in a profession, when you are in a career, when you're doing something, everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs a mentor. Even just being a husband or a wife, you need a mentor. You need somebody who you can look up to and somebody who looks up to you, so it'll keep you balanced. And I had a meeting with my mentor yesterday, and he really brought some stuff to light yesterday. And I need to work on. And I really appreciate him for doing that. And you need people in your life to help guide you along the way in this life. Other than that, I really can't complain. Let us go ahead and turn to the book of Exodus this morning. Let us go ahead and turn to the book of Exodus chapter 20 verses 1 through 17. Exodus chapter 20 verses 1 through 17. And it reads, And El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And thou shalt have no other Els before me. And thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything is thy neighbor. Let us do the Lord's Prayer, Yahuwah's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. If you could turn to the word of Yahuwah to John, St. John's chapter 11, verses 45 through, I must say, 50. But yeah, 45 through 50. But the key verse is going to be verse 48. And I have read this, I have did a teaching on this a couple of times. And I did this a couple of times. And I'm going to do it today. Again, because the Most High He has this truly on my heart, you know. He has this truly on my heart. And, you know, He had me to do it this week. But also, I'm going to try to make sure that you can relate it to your life. You can make it personal. I'm going to try to make sure that you can really understand the context of it. I'm going to try to make sure you really can be able to apply it to your life and see it from a broader scope. Make sure you can see things from a much bigger picture and not just from from the Bible perspective. Okay, but the key verse is verse 48. The key verse is verse 48. And so much stuff you can bring out from this here. Really, it's a lot. Okay. It reads, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. If we let him thus alone, all men, listen to that, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. And if I may give a title of the text this morning, the title of the text this morning is "The Threat is Real." The threat is real because of fear. The threat is real because of fear. Okay? The word threat is a 15th century word. It's a 15th century word. The word threat means a danger, a declaration of an intentions, or a determination to inflict punishment. It also means loss or pain on another. Threat means to trouble. Threat means to push. Threat means to oppress. Threat means to press, squeeze. Threat is a conditional declaration of hostile intentions. That's what the word threat means. Threat, again, is a 15th century word. It means danger. It means a declaration of intentions or a determination to inflict punishment. Threat means loss. Threat means pain on another. Threat means to trouble. Threat means to push. Threat means to oppress. Threat means to press, squeeze. It also is a conditional declaration of hostile intent. Okay, the word power. The word power is a 13th century word, and it means, in a philosophical sense or in a thinking sense, it means the abilities of doing or performing anything. Power means the abilities of doing or performing anything. Power means the abilities of moving or producing a change in something. Understand that. Listen to that. I want you to highlight that. Power means, it means the abilities of moving or of producing a change in something. Power means the abilities, it means strength, it means force, it means influence. That which may move the mind. Power means dominion, right to command or control. Okay? Also, another word, fear. Fear is a painful emotion. It means passion, and it means excited by expectations of evil. Listen to that. Fear means an expectation, a passion excited by an expectation of evil or an apprehension of impending danger. Fear is the force of this passion beginning with the moderate degree. Never mind. Fear means anxiety. Okay? Fear is an expectation of evil. Understand that. Expectation of evil. So, when we're looking at this text, right? This is when they started to plot to kill Jesus. This is when they started to plot to kill Yahshua the HaMashiach, the Messiah, Yahusha. This is when they started to plot and to kill the Messiah. They were starting to plot and to kill him because of his power that he had upon the earth. They was getting very offended because of what he was doing to and for the people. And I want us to try to be able to relate that to what we have experienced in the Hebrew community in the last 2 weeks, in the last month or so, and how we can relate it to our individual life. Because power means an abilities to change something. And that is a threat to some people. The threat means it means to inflict punishment. It means a determination to inflict punishment. So when Yahshua the HaMashiach came on the scene, came into Jerusalem, he was born in Nazareth, and he was raised up, and he was traveling. He had to go to around the country, around the world as an adolescent. When he came back to his own people, he got baptized. And that's when he received the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit. That means the abilities to be able to start doing the things that he needed to do on the earth. So once Jesus or Yahshua the HaMashiach started to do things on the earth, the people who was there before him got very offended and was threatened by him, not physically, but they was threatened by him. They was threatened because of him and because of his abilities to make things happen and to make a change in the world. And see, a lot of the times the powers that be become threatened when they see that it is a change that's coming on the horizon. They're not just afraid because of the change. They're afraid of the impact of the change, and they're afraid of the abilities and the power that comes with the change. And see, a lot of the times when you, whoever I'm talking to on the camera, or YouTube or Facebook, see, a lot of the times the reason why you get pushback or you get hostilities towards you is not because of what you did, it's because of what you did and what you possess as a person or as a people. And see, your abilities and your powers to be able to change things around you and around the people that is around you is a threat to those that are around you. And that is one of the hardest things that we really have to understand. And I think that we really have to look back through a different lens in life. We have to go back and look at things from a totally different viewpoint and how we view the Bible, how we view things in life, because if we don't, we're going to miss things. We're going to miss the small stuff to be able to see the bigger picture. And see, what I'm basically trying to deal with is the last portion in John chapter 11 verse 48. The last portion, what caused the people, the Pharisees and the scribes to move is because of this part right here. And it reads, "And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and our nation." So when the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes saw Yahshua the HaMashiach on the scene, and they saw what he was doing, they saw what he was changing, they saw the impact that he had on people's lives that was in Judea at the time, they got very afraid because he had the possibilities to change the course of history. This is not just from a physical state, because he's showing you it's not just from a physical state that he had the abilities to change things. He also had the abilities to change things from a spiritual state, or a mental or a thinking state. And see, that is one of the most that is one of the biggest threats to the existing powers that be. If someone new coming on the scene having the powers to change the course in the direction of the masses of people. And see, that's something that they did not want to happen. So when we're starting to look at this, we're starting to look at Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, when he coming on the scene, and when you start to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you have to view it from a different viewpoint. Because in Matthew chapter 1, right, it's very important that you understand Matthew chapter 1. Because in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 is very important to understand the identity of Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ. It's very important for you to understand that, because if you don't understand the genealogy of Jesus or Yahshua the HaMashiach, you will never get anything else, and you will miss everything about him. Because it says the book of the generations, the genealogy of Jesus, the son of David and the son of Abraham. And the reason why it says the son of David is because David had the heart of the Most High, and David was a warrior. But it also tells you the son of Abraham, which is the father of a belief system or a faith. Abraham was not just a man of belief, he was the father of faith, which putting your faith or your belief into action. So if you do not understand Matthew chapter 1 and him giving you the genealogy of where the lineage comes from, you will never understand Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Because Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, he come from a strong bloodline, a strong lineage, who had the powers and the abilities to make things happen. He had the power and the abilities to change things around the world. Because David was a father who changed things around the world. Lineage Solomon came from David. So Solomon was not just, David was the warrior, but Solomon has the wisdom. So when you're putting all those things into play, you build a Messiah that has character, that has strength, that has power, has an anointing. He has all those things that make up who he is. And see, a lot of the times, you can go back to John, St. John chapter 11, verse 45. But a lot of the times, we as a people, we negate or we throw away our bloodline as if it does not have any significance, or as if it don't play a part in who we are as a people. That's why Psalm 83 was so important, because if you do not know your lineage or your bloodline, you don't have a sense of identity. But when you go to Matthew 1, it's letting you know Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, has a bloodline and also has a lineage. And also in Hebrews chapter 7 verse 14, it tells you what tribe that Yahshua came out of. So when Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, came on the scene, after he was baptized in the Holy Spirit, which is his abilities, came upon him, he was able to go out and start doing the work. And a lot of the times when you start really walking in your anointing, people really going to hate you for it. People really going to hate you for what you do. Not because of what you do, it's because of what you do. And what do I mean by that? Because when you really truly walk in your abilities as an Israelite or a Gentile who attached themselves to the Israelites, you are walking in change. You are walking in a resurrection. You're walking into something that is new. You are changing people's lives for the better. And see, that is the threat that is on the earth today. We have experienced that for the last 2 months, and I don't know how many people had the spiritual eyes to see that right now we're not just in a physical war, we're in a spiritual war. The Hashatan is not just fighting to keep his power on the earth through the physical realm. He's also fighting to keep his power in the spiritual realm. And that's something we got to understand. So let us dive into verse 45. And I'm going to read you a couple of articles. And I think it'll be relatable. And I want it to be relatable to you and personal to you because everybody's been talking about it. Everybody's been talking about it. But, you know, they're looking at it. To me, some are looking at it. I think some are looking at it from a physical realm and not from a spiritual realm. Everything that we see going on today is not physical. It's physical, but it's more spiritual than physical. And see your power comes from your spiritual realm and not just from your physical. Your spiritual realm or your spiritual belief enhances your physical abilities. Okay, and it says in verse 45 in chapter 11 in St. John, it says, Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yeshua or Jesus did, believed on him. The reason why they believed on Jesus, or Yeshua the HaMashiach, is because of what he did in life. What he did to and for the people. Because a lot of the times that the powers that be really don't do nothing for the people. They do it for themselves and not for the people. And that is the hard thing for people to understand. That is the hard thing for people to comprehend. The reason why changes comes on the earth is not because of what the positive things that has been done. It is because of the negative things that has been done. Change only comes because of negativity, or change comes for improvement and not for destruction. And see, that's what we got to look at, okay? So let us go to John, St. John chapter 2, verse 11. And I'm going to probably deal with St. John's today all the way. I'm going to go to verse 10 and verse 11. And this is talking about when he was dealing with at the wedding. And he was at the wedding. And the reason why Yeshua told his wife, it's not my time to come. It's not my time yet. Well, let me read what he says. Then he says, in verse 4, he said, and Jesus said unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? My hour is not yet come. He wasn't necessarily talking about, he was talking about his physical, but he was trying to, what was actually going on is that he was thinking she was talking about the physical when he said that. But she was actually trying, it was the jump start of him getting his people to believe on him. That's why it was so important for him to change the water into wine, because this was the beginning of his miracles. And the people that he was around had to see his abilities in order to believe in him. And it says in St. John chapter 2, verse 10 and 11, and said unto him, Every man at the beginning doeth set forth good wine. And when men have well drank, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. The reason why it was better than the beginning, because Yeshua had touched it and made it to be what it was. And then this is the good one. This is the key. In verse 11 it says, this the beginning of miracles did Jesus in Canaan of Galilee, and manifest forth his glory. And his disciples believed on him. The word manifest means to demonstrate. It means to appear. Him changing that water into wine was the beginning of his disciples to start to believe on him as the Messiah. And see, a lot of the times, people only believe in you not by what you say, but what you do. That's why he said in scripture, people do what they say do, but don't do what they do. Because their words don't line up with the word. But do what they do what they say now, but don't do what they do, because they're hypocrites to their own words. Because how you get somebody to follow you as a person or as a leader, your actions have to supersede what you say that comes out your mouth. Your action has to supersede what comes out your mouth. And if your words don't supersede what comes out your mouth, people are not going to believe anything that you say. And not going to be willing to follow you. So that's why it was very important that Yahshua the HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, he turned that water into wine at the wedding in front of people. Because this was the beginning of his miracles, and it was for a specific audience to see that he was doing what he was supposed to do. And that he had the powers to change. Because power means the abilities, or the abilities of moving or of producing a change in something. You can. That's why he would call the Pharisees such a hypocrite, because they wasn't making no change in Galilee or in Jerusalem at the time. They weren't making no change. The people was in the same conditions, doing the same thing, acting the same way for a long period of time. That is the reason why he called them a hypocrite, because they did not produce a change in society. And if you are in a leadership position and you have not made a change in the current situation that you're in, either you're functioning out of fear, or you are a hypocrite. Let's go to John, St. John chapter 4, verse 39. Now he changed the water into wine. Now this one here, this is dealing with the lady at the well. See, in order for people to, and if we dissect and read the scriptures more, in order for those people to see or to believe in Yahshua, they had to see him do something in order to believe. They just wasn't going to believe off the rip. They had to see him do something in order for them to be able to say, hey, this is Christ. They was going by his actions. They wasn't going by what he said out of his mouth. They wasn't doing that. Okay? And in St. John chapter 4, verse 38 and 39. And it reads, I send you to reap that whereon ye bestow no labor. Other men labor, and ye are entered into your into their labor. Many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for saying of the woman which testified, he told me of that ever I did. And so when the Samaritans would come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them, and he abided there 2 days. And the reason why the Samaritans started to believe on Yahshua the HaMashiach is because the conversations that he had with the Samaritan woman at the well. When he was telling to the Samaritan woman that, nah, you don't have 5 husbands. You don't have all these husbands. You don't have all this, that, and that. He was telling the woman, I know about you. And I just met you. You haven't never seen my face. You just know that I'm a Jew. That's all you know of. But he started to prophesy into her life of her conditions. And when he started to prophesy into her conditions on how, whatever the case might have been, that's when she started to believe. See, people are only going to believe that you're a prophet is what you speak come to existence. They're not going to believe you if you prophesy something that don't even come to existence. They're not going to believe anything. They're just going to sit and say, okay, that's a lying prophet there. See, the Pharisees and the scribes and all those people got upset because people started to believe on Yahshua. They started to believe on Yahshua. They started to believe everything that he was doing was going to change things. And I'm going to give you one more. I can give you a couple more, but let me give you, let's go to John, St. John chapter 11. We're going to start at verse 3 through 6, and this is talking about Lazarus. And the reason why he did the things that he did, he said it was called a setup. The Lazarus story was a setup. The Lazarus story was a setup for the people, not for Lazarus. And the reason why it was a setup because he was still trying to get the people to believe in what he was trying to do for them. He was trying to change their life, but the only way that he could change their life, he had to do things that seemed to be impossible. And if you look at the story of Lazarus, then you look at the conditions that Lazarus was in when the Messiah came, it had to look like it was an impossible condition. So that they could be able to believe that, man, this is true, the Messiah. But if it didn't look like an impossible condition, they would have never believed him. So I'm gonna read verses 3 through 6. Then I'm gonna go down to verse 14. Then I'm gonna go down to verse 16. Okay. Then it reads in verse 3. It says, therefore his sister sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou love is sick. That is the condition of Lazarus. Then it says, and when Jesus heard that he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. So what right here in this verse, Jesus is telling you why the conditions of Lazarus is the way it is. He was using Lazarus as an example to bring the people to God. But a lot of people didn't see that as that. And a lot of the times, we don't look at our life story. We don't look at our conditions and what the Most High have done for us to magnify glory, to magnify God to other people. A lot of us don't even look at it. Whatever the Most High is doing in our life, it is not for us. It's for other people to gravitate to God. But if we only see it as a woe is me type of situation, we will miss the teachings that the Most High is doing. And see, a lot of times we be crying, but the Most High is using you to bring other people into His Word, into His fold. But a lot of us don't have that conscious state. We didn't hear Lazarus saying that, we just saw he was sick, right? So now listen, I want you to understand something. It says, in verse 4 again, it says, but for the glory, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Verse 5. Then Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And when he had heard, therefore, he was sick. Listen. He abided 2 days still in the same place where he was. So let us go down to verse 14. So what happened, he said, I heard Lazarus was sick. And Lazarus' sickness is not for Lazarus, but it's for the people. He said, but I'm going to do something extreme. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay where I am for a couple of more days to let these people really see the glory of the Most High. See, you may be so sick sometimes. It's like I heard people in stage 4 cancer, the doctors say, you ain't got nothing but 2 days or 6 months to live, but they wind up living an extra 5 to 10 to 15 years. Because their sickness and their healing and their deliverance was for other people to believe that God really truly exists. But some of us didn't see it that way. But the person who was going through the sickness said, but God, but the Most High, but God. And see, this is what the story is about. Trying to get the people to believe in the Messiah. Okay, verse 14. Listen to this. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Lazarus is dead. He confirmed Lazarus' death. Listen to this. And then it says in verse 16. I'm going to go down to verse 16. Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us go, let us also go, that we may die with him. Okay? Go to verse 25. Everybody, Yahshua said, Lazarus is dead. Lazarus is dead. He told everybody, Lazarus has stopped breathing. Okay? Verse 25. Jesus said unto his sisters, Jesus said unto Martha, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believe in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. That's one of the most important verses that's in this book. Because the book of John is basically talking about how you believe. Because when people are sick, the only way that they are healed, they are believing in the Most High at that time. They don't believe in man. They don't believe in nobody but the Word and that Spirit that dwells in them. That's why they say, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. That's what they say. They be calling on his name in the midst of their sickness. Because that's the only person that they feel like they can get them through whatever they're going through at the time that they're going through it. The way our life changes is when we start to believe in Yahshua the Hamashiach, or Jesus the Christ, or the Word of the Most High. The only way that our life becomes a resurrection or becomes new again is when we start believing in the Word. If we don't start believing in the Word, our life stays the same. And see, that's something that we got to understand about the book of John. It's talking about your belief system. Not your faith, but your faith starts with your belief. Because faith is an action word. Belief is a thought process. So now, he said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Okay? Now let us go to verse 39. Listen to it. This is the rising of Lazarus. Listen to the condition. Because he stayed away for 2 days for a reason. Because he wanted you to see the impossible become possible. And see, a lot of us don't believe that the impossible can become possible. A lot of us don't believe that the impossible become possible. Alright? In verse 38 and 39. Then I'm going to verse 44. Then it says, Jesus therefore again, groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone laid upon it. Jesus said, take ye away the stone. Listen. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stank. He stinketh, for he has been dead 4 days. She said, now everybody's looking at that. Everybody's looking at the situation. Everybody around them, their friends, the Pharisees, the comforters, everybody came around and looking at Lazarus in the cave, and he's stinking. Don't smell good at all. And see, a lot of us are in conditions today thinking it's impossible that the Most High can take us out of those conditions and bring us to a new life. A lot of us are in conditions today thinking it's impossible for us to recover from where we are. But it's not impossible when we just really surrender to the Most High's will. It's not impossible because he's showing you the story in the life of Lazarus. Look how many people have had stage 4 cancer and told that they only had 6 months to live and still living to this day. Look at people whose life have been changed or resurrected because of just changing their eating habits or changing their mindset or just be changing their behavior.
That's good.
So when we go down, Martha said, the man is stinking, Jesus. When we go down to verse 44, only thing he had to do was speak. And Lazarus' life came to be. Then it says that he that was dead came forth, both hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus said unto him, loose him and let him go. See, at that point there, that's when people started to see the power of Yahshua. Turn back and go. Let's go on down to verse 6. Let us go down to verse 46. But that's when the people started to believe on Jesus. But that's when the threat came. When people started to believe on Jesus and not the Pharisees and the scribes, that's when the threat came. And the threat came because of fear. Because people was afraid, the Pharisees and the scribes was afraid that they are now losing power. Let me read you a title of something. Okay? This is it's an article, and it's talking about Jackson State. Okay, Jackson State football, because the whole issue's been this week is been Deion Sanders, and everybody been talking about Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State. This is First and 10. First and 10. They came out on July the 20th, 2022. First and Pen came out on July 20th, 2022. And then it reads, could Deion Sanders turn Jackson State into an HBC Notre Dame? That was the threat to Division I college universities, or PWIs. The threat that Deion Sanders could actually change the scope of historically black universities was a threat to the PWIs. That is one of the main reasons why the powers that be had to make a change. And I'm going to read you something. Did you put an article up? First and 10. Okay. Try both. Okay. And I'm going to read you something, because we got to understand that the threat is real. The threat is real. Okay, it says, what Deion Sanders has done in and for the HBCU football in under 3 years. Listen to that. Because at this point in time, it was under 3 years that the Messiah was making changes upon the earth. Under the 3 years that the Messiah was on the earth, he was making great impact. And under 3 years that Deion Sanders being at HBCU, he was making great impact. Okay, listen, and they understand that. Listen to that. It says, what Deion Sanders has done and for HBC football in under 3 years is remarkable. Named Jackson State 21st head football coach in September 2020. Sanders had to navigate through COVID and begin play in February 2021. In his first season, he led the Tigers to a 4-3 record, and an improvement over the team 4-8 record in 2019. Listen to that. As soon as Deion Sanders got on the scene, he started to make an impact. Okay? He said that fall, Deion had a full season to improve his work and didn't disappoint. The Tigers went 11-1 with Sanders at the helm, eventually falling to South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl. But what Sanders did for Jackson State and HBC football as a whole was undeniable. See, Deion just didn't Deion Sanders didn't just affect Jackson State. He affected the whole HBC university football programs. And see, what Jesus and Yeshua was doing, he just didn't affect one person. He was affecting everybody he came in contact with. Okay, then it says, after his hiring, listen to this, after his hiring, other traditional powerhouses tapped into the NFL bloodline for their new head coaches. Tennessee State hired former Oilers and Titan running back Eddie George, and Grambling tapped former Brown head coach Hugh Jackson. Other institutions fell in behind the powerhouse draft created by Sanders and expounded their athletic offerings. Virginia State added men and women lacrosse and soccer. Fisk added women's gymnasium, and Tennessee is exploring adding ice hockey programs. While Sanders was not directly responsible for these developments, he was a major catalyst for the for the improvement, attentions, and financial support that the HBCU athletic programs have experienced over the last 2 years. But then Sanders turned the heat up on the world of college football. Listen to that. After finishing 11-2 and winning the Eddie Robinson Award for FCS Coach of the Year, Deion went back to work. He signed listen to this, he signed 2 of the top recruits in the country. Travis Hunter and Kevin Coleman. Listen to that. Then he got some top-notch 4-star recruits transfers. So Deion Sanders got 4 top-notch people to help his program within 2 years. Then he says those signings earned him high praise from publications across the country. So we got to understand his recruiting class was even ranked higher of the FBS program like Iowa State, UCF, and BYU. So when we're starting to look at the current conditions of what Yahshua the HaMashiach was doing, Yahshua the HaMashiach just wasn't impacting one people. He was impacting a whole society of people. And so when you look at the Deion Sanders situation, Deion Sanders was affecting the whole HBCU programs across the country. Deion was recruiting better than Division I universities. And see, that's something that we did not understand. We didn't think about. We didn't think about that on a much larger scale. What is the impact of Deion Sanders, not just at Jackson State, but on the whole United States of America? See, it was much big. This here was much bigger than Deion. What happened with Jesus, Yahshua the HaMashiach, was much bigger than Yahshua the HaMashiach. So let us go to verse 46. So some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Okay? Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council. They got a meeting together and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. Miracle is an impossible thing. Let me give you the definition of a miracle. Miracle is a miracle. Okay. Miracle, literally a wonder or a wonderful things. But literally a wonder or a wonderful thing. In theology, it's an event or an effect contrary to the established constitution and course of things. Okay? It is spectacular. It's dramatic. Okay? So, what Deion Sanders did down there was a miracle to Jackson State. What Deion Sanders was doing for the HBCUs was a miracle. And I don't think we understand the capacity of that. So what did they start to do now? Since Yahshua the HaMashiach was coming on the scene and he was doing miracles, what did the council start to do? They said, Then they gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees at council and said, "What do we? For this man doeth many miracles." What do we do because this man do many miracles? Let's go to Matthew's. Because they starting to think now, man, this man is starting to change things. This man is starting to make things happen. Matthew chapter 23, verses 35 through 38. But they said, this man is really starting to change things. He's healing people. He's prophesying to people. He's making people believe on him. He's making people believe on him. That the impossible is possible. And see, a lot of the times we don't think that the Most High can work impossible things in our life, but the Most High has given us examples of what he could do if we had a faith of a mustard seed. And see, Dion had to have that faith of a mustard seed to take his butt down to Jackson State to be able to go into that jungle and to make it to be what it is. See, when you have that faith of a mustard seed, you can do anything you want to do. But how you choose to do it is depending on you. Okay, Matthew chapter 23, verse 35 through 38. Okay? And it reads, "Thereupon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth." No, I'm sorry about it. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26, verse 3. Because I want us to understand that it was some strategies going on. It was some stuff going on at the time. Once they saw Jesus started to be able to change people's lives, they had to stop it because of fear. The Pharisees and the scribes had to stop it because of fear. Okay? So they started to make a plan. They came together with a plan. Okay? Then it says, "Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him." The reason why the Pharisees, the scribes, the chief priests, and the people, and the high priests, they killed Jesus is because of fear. They killed Jesus because of fear from the physical realm of their position being taken away. Understand that. Their position being taken away, like they said, can Jackson State become the next Notre Dame of the HBCU? So they had to come together to create a council to figure out how can we get rid of this guy who's causing commotion on the scene. Even though he's doing wonderful work, but he's doing some things that we don't need him to be doing right now. Because he's disrupting the program. He's causing chaos and commotion right now. So we don't need him on the scene. We got to do something to get him out the scene because I'm afraid. His own people is plotting against him. Yahshua the HaMashiach's own people is plotting against him because they are afraid. Okay? Let us go to Psalms. Psalms 2, 1 through 3. And I want us to understand this is about reality. This is about realness. A lot of times people are not going to like you because of the abilities that you have in you. The anointing that you have in you, the powers that you have in you, people are not going to like it. So whatever they got to do to come against you, they're going to do it. That's something for you to understand. Okay, and it says in Psalms 2:1-3, it says, why do the heathens rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Why do the heathens get upset and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers takes counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands as under and cast away their cords from us. See, they got together and said, okay, we need to get this guy because what he's doing is something that we don't want him to do. Jesus is doing something that we don't want him to do. And what Jesus is doing is giving the people hope. He's giving them life. He's giving them resurrection. He's giving them newness. And see, whatever you're doing in your life and this for the Most High, you can expect somebody's planning something against you, because the simple fact is you are disrupting the normalcy of life. The reason why they came against Kyrie, because he was disrupting the normalcy of life. The reason why they was coming against Kanye, he's disrupting the normalcy of life. Understand that. You just got to continue to push forward and move. Let's go to Acts. Let's go to Acts chapter 4. Verse 27 and 28. (26, 27, 28). Listen to this. Acts chapter 4, verses 26, 27, and 28. Okay, then it reads, the kings of the earth stood up, and the rulers were gathered together against the Lord and against his Christ. For of a truth against thy holy child Jesus, whom thou hast anointed. But Herod and Pontius Pilate, with the Gentiles and the people of Israel, were gathered together for to do whatever thy hands and thy counsel determined before to be done. They got the children, the people who came together was Herod, because everybody knew his abilities. Pontius Pilate knew his abilities. The Gentiles knew his abilities. The people of Israel knew his abilities. Everybody knew what he was capable of doing. Everybody knew what he was capable of doing. So what they said, let us take counsel to do what we got to do to get rid of him. Let us take counsel. Because he's not just a threat to the Pharisees and the scribes. He was a threat to the Roman Empire. He was a threat to the Roman Empire as well. Because if Jesus had the abilities to change everybody in Jerusalem, do you think he would have rebelled against the Roman Empire? If Jesus had that many followers following him, did he have the abilities to change the whole world at the time? If he would have stayed alive, would he have had the abilities to change the whole world? Because of what people see he's doing. Yes, he would have changed the world. He would have changed the whole structure of life. The Roman Empire would have failed way before its time. So let me read your article. Coming out of the Clarion Ledger. Clarion. Ledger. Ledger. It's the Mississippi Clarion Ledger. It came out on May the 24th, 2022 at 10:29 a.m. Why Nick Saban $1 million NIL acquisition stunned Deion Sanders and was an insult to HBCUs. Because what actually happened with Deion Sanders and Nick Saban is that Nick Saban got upset because Deion Sanders was recruiting top quality players and taking them out of the PWIs and putting them into the HBCU. So let me read you a little something. Do you have it? Okay, it says, when Alabama football coach Nick Saban accused Texas A&M of buying the #1 ranked recruiting class in the nation and Jackson State of paying a player $1 million, he was really using Deion Sanders and Jimbo Fisher as pawns in order to ask Alabama boosters for more money. Sanders said last week, "They just threw me in the fire because what we accomplished in recruiting last year with Kevin Coleman and Travis Hunter and some others." Sanders, the Jackson coach, said on I Am Athletes podcast with Brandon Marshall, they just threw us in the fire because he was a spokesman for all the SEC and he was the spokesman for all the five powers, all the power fives of the PWIs by saying, hey y'all, we can't let that happen again. The top 5 SEC programs was upset because of what Deion Sanders did with the HBCUs. They was very upset with Deion Sanders because the move that Deion Sanders made when it came down for recruiting for HBCUs. So Nick Saban plotted and schemed a plan to make sure that that never happened again. He just told you, it says, they just threw me in the fire because of what we accomplished in recruiting last year with Kevin Coleman and Travis Hunter and some others. Sanders, the JSU coach, said on the I Am the Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, they just threw us in the fire because he was a spokesman for all. He was a spokesman for all the SEC. And he was a spokesman for all the Power 5 and the PWIs, predominantly white institution, by saying, hey y'all, we can't let that happen again. No, they weren't going to let Deion Sanders be able to have the power and the abilities to be able to change the HBCUs. So they did what they had to do to get Deion Sanders out of there. And see, sometimes, let me go to Ephesians 6 and 12. Listen to this, and I want you to have this in the back of your mind, and I'm about almost finished. I want you to have this in the back of your mind. Because the threat is real. The life that we live today, the people that are around us, and your abilities that you have, the threat is real. Don't think because you're using your abilities and your powers to anoint people and to do things in the world that people are not threatened by. It says in Ephesians 6:2, it says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. In order for you to understand spirituality, you really got to let that verse there kick into your spirit for you to understand what's actually truly going on in this world. That's what you really truly got to understand. Them guys got together and said, we can't let this happen again. Deion Sanders knew what was happening. But everybody was, so, let's go to John chapter 11. Verse 48. Verse 48. Okay. Then it says, if we let him alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and our power. And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest, that same year, said unto them, ye know not at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. Okay. The reason why the children of Israel killed Yahshua the HaMashiach, they killed him because they were jealous. They killed him because of the abilities that he had. They killed him because the power that he had to be able to change society. But they also killed him because of fear. They killed him because of fear. Because they didn't want to lose the position that they had in society. They didn't want to lose the position that they had in society, but they just didn't want to lose the position that they had with the Roman Empire. And see, sometimes when people come against you, they're coming against you because they don't want to lose what they got, and you taking it away from them because you have been anointed with some abilities that they don't have. And that's something that we got. It's like when I was talking to my mentor yesterday, he said, Orlando, let me tell you something. You got to always enhance your skills. He said, you always got to educate yourself. You always got to be on point with the things that you do in life. You got to always continue to invest in yourself. He said, how can you make change if you're not investing in yourself? How can you make change? How can you change anything or do anything better for yourself if you're not investing? He said, I have spent a lot of money in my education. A lot of money. What that education did was enhance his abilities. Let us go to Matthews chapter 23. Verses 35 through 38. See, a lot of us are playing checkers while a lot of people, when the powers that be, are playing chess. This is a chess game. This is not a checkers game. And if you always look at things from the surface, you're going to miss the whole ordeal of life. People don't move in ways because it's a physical. No, it's deeper than that. And I want you to understand that. Okay, and it reads in Matthew chapter 23, verse 35 through 38. It says, thereupon you might come all the righteous blood and shed upon the earth. Listen to that. It says, thereupon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of the righteous of Abel unto the blood of the blood of Zechariah, whom ye slew before the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that kill the prophet, and stone them which are sent unto thee. Often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathers her flock under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto desolation. See, the reason why the Pharisees and the scribes had to kill Jesus, because they was afraid that the Roman Empire would come and take everything that they had and destroy Jerusalem. So they used Jesus as a sacrifice so that they would not destroy Jerusalem. They used Yahshua the HaMashiach as a sacrifice so that the whole nation wouldn't get destroyed. Let's go to Luke 19, 41 through 44. Because I'm going to tell you something, we don't even understand. See, when Luke 19, 41 through 44, and it reads, and when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou had known, even thou, at least in this day, this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace. But now they are hidden from thy eyes. For the day shall come upon thee, that thy enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. The Pharisees and the scribes knew that they would be killed if they continued to allow Yahshua the HaMashiach to stay on the scene. They knew that they would be destroyed. They knew that they would be taken out. They said, we'd rather for one to die for the nation than the whole nation to die. So they said, it's best for us to go ahead and kill Yahshua the HaMashiach so everybody else can live. Let us go to Luke 23. (28 through 31). Oh, the threat is real. The threat comes from your power and fear. Then it reads, but Jesus turning unto them said, daughter of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourself and for your children. For behold, the days are coming in which they shall say, blessed are the barren, and the womb that never bared, the pop which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountain, fall on us, to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry? Because the power of the beast is going to be willing to destroy the Pharisees and the scribes. So they did whatever they had to do to make things right. From their eyes' sake. They said, we'd rather kill one. That's why, let us go back to John, verse 11, verse 50. That's why they're saying what they're saying. Listen to, this is why they're saying what they're saying. Listen to verse 40, 49 and 50. It says, one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest, that same year said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that is expedient for us. Listen, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. They said we had to kill Jesus so that even though we don't like him, we're jealous of him, we hate him, we still had to kill him, because the simple fact is, if we allow him to live, the Roman Empire would wipe us off the face of the map. Let me read